So recently someone left a comment on my video, how to get a job at the Apple Store, that said, Ben, the interview went great. Thank you so much for your help. But they asked a question you didn't teach us how to answer. This is that comment. And I thought to myself, well, that won't do. That's not good enough. I need to make a video teaching everyone how to answer this interview question that they ask when you're interviewing for the Apple Store. And that's what today's video is about. I'm gonna teach you how to answer this question right now. You're probably wondering, what is the question, Ben? I won't bury the lead any further. This is a question. The question is, tell me about a time when you had to learn a lot of information quickly and how did you handle it? This is a great interview question and I'm gonna teach you how to answer it right now. Well, first and foremost, why? Why would they ask this question when you're interviewing for the Apple Store? And the answer is quite simple. You're going to be learning a lot. You're going to be learning a lot during training. Their products are going to change. They're going to come out with new products. So someone who is able to learn and adapt quickly is really important. So that is why they ask you. Now, the next thing you need to know is that this is a behavioral interview question. If you're new to my videos and you haven't seen me talk about behavioral interview questions, what that means is any question that starts with, tell me about a time when, or give me an example when, it is a behavioral interview question. They're asking you to recall something that happened previously and walk them through what your behaviors were to handle it. And anytime that is the case, you need to use the STAR method. The STAR method is situation, so what was the situation you're in? Task, what was a task that needed to be completed? Action, what was your specific action you took to succeed, and the result. So what was the result of everything leading up to this point? So when they're asking you basically, when was the last time you had to learn something very quickly, it was a lot of information, and how did you handle it? That's a behavioral interview question, and you need to use the STAR method: situation, task, action, result. One of the most important things you can do besides just answering this question is you need to answer it enthusiastically. They want to hire somebody who's going to be open to learning. So you need to be someone who's not just done this in the past, but someone who is motivated by it, invigorated by it. You like learning a lot. When you answer this question, that's what they need to walk away with. Now, from a time perspective, you want this question to be answered in 60 to 120 seconds. You don't want it to be too short because then it seems like you didn't learn enough. There wasn't enough takeaway, or you're not going into enough detail to explain it. You also don't want it to go on too long. If this goes on over 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, it's going to start to be diminishing returns. It's going to seem like you can't communicate effectively, you can't get your point across, and you're probably going to start to bore the person interviewing you. So remember, 60 to 120 seconds. You need to be doing it via the STAR method: situation, task, action, result, and you need to be enthusiastic. They need to walk away thinking, wow, Ben really liked this situation. He likes learning. And he was able to do it effectively with a good attitude. They need to feel this way about you when you answer this question. Now, lastly here, I want to give you an example. I'm going to show you how I would answer it. That way you can kind of make it your own, but I feel like examples are really helpful when it comes to answering interview questions. So what I'm going to do is I am going to answer it from a recruiter perspective. So obviously this is very different than you would answer it. You know, answer it as you would a tech person or whatever role you're interviewing for. But here's how it'd go. So the question is, Ben, can you give me an example of a time you had to learn a lot of information quickly and how did you handle it? That's a really great question. In my last job, right away on day one, they showed us a new system in which we do a lot through. So this system is how they go and they post jobs online, how they recruit candidates, how they message back and forth. And it's actually quite complex and I had never used it before. So that was the situation, right? I'm giving them this is a situation. Now let's go to task. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to be proficient with this over the course of 2 weeks. They have a 2-week training period, and then after that, you're on the job. So for me, it was really necessary to learn as much as I could, as quickly as I could. That way, in the first 2 weeks, I was ready to start and hit the ground running because I really wanted to make a good first impression. So that was task. That was a task which I had to do. So now let's go to action. So one of the things that I did to learn really quickly about all this information for this new system was, one, I took copious notes. I was writing everything down. I made sure that I was able to have a good reference point if I need to go back and assess, okay, how do you do this? How do you do this? I had really good systems in place. But then on top of that, I reached out to some people who had been successful in the role, people who were going to be on my team, and I asked if I could shadow them while they were operating within the system. And then when I did that, I was able to pick up on some of their best practices, and I was also able to ask them questions. Okay, well, why did you do this? Why did you do that? And just through going through my notes, and shadowing some of the successful people, I was able to learn a lot really quickly. So that was action. Let's bring it home with the results. What I ended up being able to do was I ended up being able to learn most of everything I needed within that first week and a half. So by the time I was actually done with that first 2 weeks, I was more than ready, and I was actually really comfortable in the system. It was a lot of fun too, because the system is actually really, while it is complex, it is really effective as a tool. It's more effective than some of the tools I had previously. So I really enjoyed kind of learning the nuances of it. And I feel it's one of the reasons I was able to get off to a great start in my most recent job, is because by the time that 2-week mark was over, I felt really comfortable in the system. So what you should have noticed there as I went through that is I was detailed. I took about how I was proactive. I went and I reached out to people. I was enthusiastic. I was complimentary of it. And it ended up with me being in a really good place. So you need to take that example and make it, your own. Think through what you've had to do in the past and kind of mimic that. Remember, situation, task, action, result, enthusiasm, and keep it less than 2 minutes. If you can do those things, you are going to succeed. Now wait, before you click off, you're going to want to watch this video here. This video here is a question you will absolutely be asked when you interview with Apple, and it's why Apple? Every single candidate who I've interviewed after they've gotten a job at Apple has not only got this question, but they've absolutely nailed it. By watching this video, I am going to teach you how to nail it too.